And there are some things I assume that they know. And I'm always shocked to learn that they don't know things that I would think they do. In this case, this young, snarky, typically arrogant pop culture writer who thinks Republicans are the biggest unhip, uncoolest nerds on earth just discovered ISIS and Sharia law and can't believe what he learned. For example, do you know, he writes a piece here advising his readers that, do you know under these guys you can't talk to women? Do you know under these guys you can't even have a beer? Now I'm reading this, and this guy thinks he has just discovered something nobody knows. And he's passing it on without the slightest bit of context. I mean, it understands the Paris attacks and that all this descends from that. But he ran across a story about this in another blog. It's where he got the information. And he's writing a piece about, man, what it would be. These guys, these are really backwards people. This is really crazy. We couldn't. And he compares this to help you understand. Compares living under ISIS to living under Dean Wormer in Animal House. So I read this. And here I realize that we've got some snarky little guy that's constantly ripping Republicans and constantly ripping conservatives and thinks Obama, the sun rises and sets, and doesn't have the slightest ability to connect the dots and understand that we face a genuine threat from these people that's far worse than not being able to have a beer or talk to babes. And he doesn't understand that he would be the first one targeted by these people and shut down. He thinks it's chilling. It's shocking to read this. And what it goes to, I think the thing that really got me about it is that it confirms this overarching point that politics on the left is totally tribal now. It's not rooted in any kind of intellectual curiosity or thought, critical thought, independent thought. Logic plays no part. This guy doesn't understand the people he votes for are apologists for these people. He doesn't understand the people he thinks are cool, the people he thinks are hip, are actually the greatest enablers of these people. He still thinks after reading this, the Republicans are the biggest threat he faces. And they're the ones who have to constantly be ripped and criticized and torn down. And he would never, ever change his mind about any of this. Because if he did, he'd have to allow himself to become uncomfortable. That won't happen. The cocoon of security allows only certain opinions to get in and certain ways of living and thinking to get in. Anything counter to it, you keep it out because it makes it too nervous, too uncomfortable. It's more important to be on the cool team. It's more important to be hip than it is to be right. Because being cool and being hip is what's right. But I'm not going to tell you what because again, it doesn't matter. You probably could find many things like this out there. It happened to hit me in a certain way when I was reading it 3 days ago. Because of the total, and when I say ignorance, I don't mean it in an insulting way. Just a shocking unawareness of what we're up against. And a total misunderstanding of who best to support to stop this. It's just, I guess, another bit of evidence that tells me what we're up against and provides for me a little bit of data on what we're going to have to do to win and overcome this kind of thing. It's all good in the end, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still shocking to run into this kind of